Meyers from HotHospitalityExchange, and welcome to another episode of Eventprofs, What's Next? I have a very special guest today, and he doesn't need any introduction, but Robert, come on up. What a fabulous way to enter the video podcast series. Thank you for that, Robert.
The things I do for you, Sabrina, honestly.
So welcome, Robert, and welcome, everyone. Thank you for clicking on the link to watch this series. So Eventprofs What's Next is me basically having a chat with Eventprofs all around the globe, doing lots of different things from different backgrounds, and them just giving me sort of the, well, what's next in this COVID environment that we're coping with, adapting to, reacting to. So I'm here today with Robert, and I'm going to hand it over to him, and he's going to give us a little intro to who he is, what he does, where he is.
Yeah, thank you for the intro. My name is Robert. I've run my own recruitment consultancy for the live events experiential sector. Been in events recruitment 20 years now, and just like everybody out there at the moment, I'm just sort of coping through this this mess that we're doing, and just focusing on getting to the other side of it, really, with as happy as we can be, really.
So I brought you in, Robert, because you are an expert on the recruitment industry side of things. And obviously that is an industry that has been, well, severely impacted in the crisis and in the pandemic. So my first question to you is, how has recruitment changed in the last few months in terms of what kind of positions are being advertised before versus now? And is there any types of jobs in our industry that you're seeing pop up more now than before?
I mean, look, I think I read something the other day that our industry is currently running at, I think it's 1 to 5% of capacity. And I think when you look at those sort of numbers, you have to recognise the fact that, you know, career jobs are, you know, probably not out there at the moment for the majority of event professionals. What's out there is, you know, look, this isn't new normal, Sabrina. I hate that phrase. You know, we're in crisis mode, we're in disaster recovery mode, and the sort of roles that are out there really reflect that. You know, there's a lot of virtual roles, there's a lot of online roles, you know, moving producers into that sort of field, lots of technical roles, you know, trying to get, again, that, you know, there's so much going on in the online world that we're not used to, that the technical aspect is huge. You know, you can have the best event in the world, but if your tech doesn't work, you know, that's a huge thing. I think still anything related to content, you know, ideation, graphics, creative, you know, that's needed more than ever. The sort of roles I'm seeing, I personally work on very senior, sort of 60, 70,000 pounds and above senior C-suite roles. And those sort of roles will be probably towards the back end of this year, Q1, until we're going to really start seeing a movement there. But the freelance community, that side of thing is huge already. You know, the next 3 to 6 months, if you're looking at freelance, that's something I would definitely recommend, because, you know, people are going to need people but can't afford the fixed overhead. So that's definitely what I've been seeing.
I suppose now on the other end, what do candidates have to now do to set themselves up for the best possible chance of getting a job? Is there anything that's more important to do now than previously?
I think it's really important that people understand that there's a difference between the person who's taking your application and the person that's going to give you the job. And I think people don't see the difference there. And it really helps to understand, look, basically you've got like a gatekeeper and then a decision maker, if you look at there. And I think before, your LinkedIn, your CV, your application probably would have had a bit more research by the team looking into it. Whereas unfortunately now, due to volume, due to lots of people just applying for everything, it's harder than ever to get to that interview stage. So I'm always asked, you know, what are recruiters and hiring teams looking for? Yeah. And what they're looking for is what they've been paid to look for, or what they've been told to look for. There's no secret to it.
Yeah.
So the advice I give people is make sure your application is succinct and clear and shows how you add value. And really what recruitment is all about is making their life easier. And the key thing about any application, and this is the secret that I will tell everyone, and I'll die on this hill, is it's not what you're writing. It's not even how they're reading it. You've got to think about, what do you want them to say about you? That is the most important thing, because you're getting put in front of an interview. Yeah. What do you want them to say? This is why I've put Sabrina. If they can't say why, you're not going to get an interview. So that's the key thing for me, is really focus on that. On the positive front, and I've been saying this recently, what you've got to remember is when these people apply, putting these jobs out there, they want to find the right person. You know, they're not doing it because they want to find the wrong person. So they're not looking for you, they're looking for what you do. When you get interviewed, that's when they're looking for you.
Got it.
So if you just think about it like that, it just makes it a bit easier, you know. And it also, you can take rejection a lot easier, because you are going to get a lot of, you know, if people are applying for 100 roles a week, 90 of them you're probably not even going to hear from, because you probably weren't right. So save your time, save your emotional energy, focus on what you can do rather than what you can't do, you know.
Are there any trends emerging now on how candidates are rebranding themselves, and what are your thoughts on them?
For me, it's about being specializing in a few areas rather than being a generalist in everything. You know, yes, generalist, you might say, as a freelancer, or somebody might want 3 or 4 roles in one, but where the market is at the moment, those sort of hybrid roles aren't around, because we're all focused on one channel, which is, you know, virtual. There's the odd live thing going on, which is wonderful. But I think, you know, people saying about being specialists, people being consultants, people explaining, you know, this is how I will enhance your offering directly. So being a bit more, you know, putting your flag on that mast of saying, speak with me if you want somebody that's great at this, rather than have a chat with me about possibly anything. And that's a very difficult skill to have, because everybody worries that they might miss out on stuff if they don't apply, or if they don't say they're a generalist. But as a potential employer, why would you speak to 50 different people who say they can do a bit of everything? If you're looking for, say, a head of events, you've probably got 2 or 3 things in your head that you're, you know, key attributes you're looking for. And if you tell people, like, that's my speciality too, you're going to get an interview. You know, if you're looking at job descriptions, and because that's all recruiters and hiring managers are, they're just human keyword searchers. You know, they're just looking for the job description or the brief they've been given. So yeah, it's about, what I'm seeing is, be a specialist. I am seeing a lot of people suddenly say they're live experts. I've never seen more virtual specialists in my life. Now, look, I've always told people, you know, you tell a lie to get a job, you tell the truth to get a career. You've got to look after you. I get that. And we're all making decisions now that are not how we normally would. We're making decisions based on the dependency of income and stability. And I get that. And I'm absolutely all for, do what you've got to do. But be warned, if you get to interview and you say you're a live or a virtual specialist and you're not, that actually does more damage than you think it's going to do. You can't blag an interview. You know, that's just not acceptable.
So I've been hearing candidates saying that employers are not paying enough importance to, and I know you hate this word, or these 2 words, transferable skills. So if they had a position open, they would only consider candidates with very specific experience and qualifications, and overlook those that have less experience and qualifications, even though they may have great transferable skills. What are your thoughts on this?
Stop doing that. It's not, look, I don't hate the phrase because it's like that. My problem with transferable skills is, what you're basically saying is, you've said you want this and I don't have that, but I have this. So you're actually highlighting the negatives, right? I look at it like dating, right? Sabrina, you could be looking for somebody that's tall, dark and handsome.
Yeah.
And then I pop up and you're a bit like, well, hang on, that's not what I was, but I could talk to you and give you stories about how caring, I like tell you stories, and you might say, do you know what, actually, yeah, you know, I'm feeling, but I'm not going to change your mind at the outset. If you're looking for tall, dark and handsome, if a client's looking for 3 years worth of experience or 10 years worth of experience, you're not going to change their mind by highlighting your lack of experience. If a client, for example, is saying, we're looking for 5 years worth of, say, let's go back to that head of events. Yeah. We're looking for 5 years experience. The reason people say a length of time is because they associate it with the knowledge that you've learned. Okay. If you show how much knowledge you've learned in a short period of time, I would almost highlight that of, you think it takes 5 years, I've done it in 3. It's about the content. It's about how you explain what you've done. We're saying about transferable skills, it's give somebody the, like, you're never going to tell someone they're wrong. That is a human trait. You will never, no one's going to go, do you know what, you're absolutely right, I'm wrong. That just doesn't happen, especially in recruitment. So if somebody's looking for certain things and you might not have, but you think that's transferable, don't say it's transferable. Give them an example as a key highlight, or or something you're most proud of in your career, and they will get that.
So now to a slightly different question, obviously a more emotional one, I'd like to say. Now, you've shared some very personal and emotional insights on social media of your experiences at this time, which have resonated with so many people. Opened up your diary, something that you did this year. You opened up your diary to potential candidates so they could pick your brain, so to speak. And no doubt, many of them opened up to you about their mental health struggles. So as a recruiter, how do you or how have you been managing the emotional side of it that people bring to you?
My own emotional side.
As well as theirs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of the original 5 stages of grief, you know, and I've worked that through myself, and I got to acceptance back in sort of May, June, and you know, I was called quite negative, and you know, but I'm quite pragmatic. I realised quite quickly that without a medicinal vaccine, this sector is not going back to anything like we want it to this year. So I got to acceptance quite early, you know. So acceptance for me was understanding, is 2021 going to be something you can build your business back up? Yes, it can. So can you afford financially to get to 21? I can. I'll owe a load of money to people, but I can get to that stage. Yeah. So I reached there quite early. So I focused on what instead of what I can't do, what can I do?
Yeah.
And what I can do with having 20 years of reading CVs and speaking to people, and as you know, and as people can tell, I love a chat. So I looked at the one-to-one. I've done free outplacements, you know, I've done the Monday mentions, but for me, the one-to-ones was about, I recognized that one of the greatest things I have a mentor that every sort of bi-monthly we used to chat, and now we chat every Monday, because what was happening to me with the business was eking into my private life with my children, with my wife, and that dynamic. Now, I wouldn't get to 9 years if I was unloading everything that actually physically is going on, mentally is going on in my head. So I looked at, what do I need to focus on? And the 3 areas I looked at was my mental health, my physical health, and my financial health. Okay. So that is what I've been preaching to everybody in one-to-one. You know, I've had some of and it is very, very emotionally draining. I've had nearly 250 one-to-ones, and some of the stories, you know, they will break your heart, and it's very difficult. This is a sector that I love and adore, and you know, I'm an MIA judge, I'm an ILEA board director, you know, I love events, but realistically, the career move for you in events, unfortunately, is probably not there. And the quicker you realise that and put off, December is really the time to make a career decision about events, because we don't know until any of these medicine vaccine trials have finished. Spending time with my family. So that has been my focus, and that's been the focus, you know, that I've been going through with event professionals. Exactly. You know, and especially now on social media, I'm seeing a lot of people posting about jobs, and that's wonderful. Well done for getting the job. Nobody goes on, maybe apart from me, but nobody's going to go on social media and tell you about the dark stuff. Nobody's going to go on and say, I'm having a really bad day today. That just doesn't happen on social media. So you get all these event professionals reading all this positive stuff, thinking, I'm alone, I'm being left behind.
And they're going kind of further down the spiral.
Absolutely. And it's not. Social media is wonderful. I love it. It's not real life.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, for people like you and me, who social media is part of our business strategy, it is real life, because that is who we are as a brand.
Yeah.
But social media, for people who don't rely on it as part of their business, you've got to take it for what it is: information, networking, and all that sort of thing. But it's not real life. And Absolutely. I think it's really dangerous to sort of spend time scrolling and looking at, you know, never judge. A wise man once told me about, don't judge your success based on someone else's. And that's something I've always thought about. And it has been hard. I've had people feed back to me, actually recruiters, weirdly enough, you know, look, I'm always whining, I'm always showing that I'm upset, and, you know, clients will not want to work with me. And I'm like, well, I don't want to work with a client that doesn't have empathy to realise I'm struggling.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling just like everyone else is.
Yeah. So, Robert, my last question to you is, any ending advice to give to candidates and employers as well out there?
Candidates, I would say that wonderful Martin Luther King Jr. quote about moving forward. You know, I've had that as my desktop for the last probably 15 years. You know, whether one day you move forward an inch or one day you move forward a mile, you know, whether one day you want to stay in your pajamas and have a glass of wine and ice cream, or other day you want to run a marathon, it doesn't matter. Just take it, you know, each day at a time, and we will move forward, and use your network. You know, I'm doing, you know, Sabrina, the stuff you're doing is amazing. You know, use your network, use those people around you, and don't be afraid to reach out to people.
Right.
And if someone says to you, how are you? And it's a friend of yours, don't say you're fine if you're not fine. It's not cool, it's not manly. Just tell them how you're feeling. You'd be surprised. And for clients or employers, I would say, in the nicest possible way, don't take the piss out of people. You know, there's so much mental health issues at the moment, more than ever. Look, making people jump through hoops, asking for 5 years experience and a degree and paying them 30,000 or offering them 90-day, you know, don't take the mickey out of people, because trust me, we all have long memories. There's 150,000 people redundant at the moment, unfortunately, in our sector. Treat people with respect, and also for employers, you know, understand that when you're recruiting, you've got to realize that the people that are applying and being interviewed for your roles, it might not be you they want to work for a long time. It might be that you've just got the job open. So you have to look at that selection criteria and be very clear about what you want for the future, not just now.
Thank you so much. That's brilliant advice. Thank you so much, Robert, for being a guest on Eventprofs What's Next. You've shed some fantastic insights on recruitment and now and what's next and what to expect. And, you know, preparation tips, insights, and advice for any candidates out there. And thank you all for watching Eventprofs What's Next and joining me. Now, find us, follow me, follow Robert, and stay tuned for more Eventprofs What's Next. And I will see you at the next one. Bye.